Hi, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. We're going to give it just a couple of minutes to get started. I'm Jana. I was looking at my other screen, by the way. So I'm Jana, customer success specialist with APA, specifically working on academic writer. And this is my colleague,
Hi.
Dawn Harper, who is, that was your cue.
Oh, I do stuff with academic writer, who is a person who does stuff with academic writer.
That was perfect. We are here to give you an introduction to the platform so that you can effectively use it this semester. We are getting more people, which I'm really excited about. Feel free to ask questions. I prefer if you drop them in the chat. That makes it easier for me. Um, or you can drop it in the Q&A. That is also open, I think. Um, if you have any questions at all, just drop them in there. We're going to alternate presenting on content. So if Dawn's speaking and you have a question, you can just drop it in the chat for me and I'll bring it up when she pauses, and then vice versa when I'm reviewing my sections. Any other
You can also feel
housekeeping?
free to interrupt me.
Oh yeah, I'll interrupt. I'll try to slide it in when I
Yeah,
just get it
yeah,
in there.
yeah.
Um, Housekeeping, I'm assuming everybody can hear us. If you can, why don't you drop in the chat where you're logging in from? I'm in Maryland, just above DC. Dawn, I don't know if you want to share where you're logging in from. Ooh, Ohio, Missouri.
Also in the DC suburbs. Um, for those of you, Miami. That sounds much
Nice.
warmer.
I do feel warm hearing that.
Yeah. For those in the Midwest, I
Ooh,
hope you
California.
are prepared for the impending snow. I think we'll get that a little bit after y'all do. So,
Send
yeah.
help. I wish we could. I'm also from Florida originally. I still don't like to deal with snow. I make my
Mm,
children do it. Oh,
mm.
speaking of children, uh, if they interrupt, I apologize ahead of time. My kids will sometimes pop in, especially in the middle of a webinar, to ask me a ridiculous question. Fingers crossed
I
that
see.
doesn't happen.
I see a Hoosier in the chat, and as a JMU alum, I am only like 10% excited for their national football championship win because that is the percentage of their team that came from James Madison. So on that note, we're about three past the hour here. So I am going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to go off camera while I am screen sharing. But like Jenna said, if you have any questions about any of the things that we're talking about, chat and Q&A is there for you. And one of us will be monitoring that throughout the duration of this webinar. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen. Um, I am sharing my screen. Okay. Um, okay. Hopefully y'all can see my screen.
I
I don't
see it.
know. Okay, is the Zoom bar like blocking your view of anything? Is it just
No.
for me? Okay, great. Just me. Cool. Let me see if I can move this so I can click on things. Um, we're still good on the viewing, the
Yep,
screen
looks
and
good to
whatnot.
me.
Okay, sounds good. I will just guess at what is behind that Zoom toolbar. So like I said, this is the academic writer homepage. All of you here, hopefully have been able to log into Academic Writer through your school's library or course or whatever. Maybe that's even how you learned about this webinar. There are so many different ways that your library, your writing center, your school, your course can offer access to Academic Writer. I am just going to skip over all of that and assume that you can land on this page. If you can't or you have difficulty with that, just go ahead and reach out to us at academicwriter@apa.org, and just like let us know what you're seeing, what trouble you might be having with that. Just because there's so much variety there, we can't anticipate that for everyone in this webinar today. When you land here on the Academic Writer homepage, you're going to see the content in the platform is organized into three different areas: the Learning Center, the Reference Center, and the Writing Center. So I'm going to talk a little bit about kind of getting started with Academic Writer and the Learning Center before I pass it off to Jana, who's going to talk about the Reference and Writing Center, which really work well together. So here, if you are brand new to using any sort of kind of like, web-based app for writing or anything like that, I mean, you probably use like Google Docs, but you can also take a little tour of Academic Writer, just so you kind of know what Academic Writer platform terminology is. So it's the tour this page and going through, just letting where you can change certain settings and things like that. So that is the tour. Most of the things that we talk about today are going to also be in these orientation lessons, the getting started with Academic Writer, as well as writing in Academic Writer. So they kind of getting started, what can Academic Writer do for you? And then the writing in Academic Writer is the kind of the starting a paper. It's like, okay, like, oh, I know I have access to this platform and I know that it can help me. Like, now what do I do? So any reminders of the things that we talk about can be found there. Um, the other thing that I want to mention is that I am currently logged into my account. You can tell because it has my name up here in the welcome menu. So any place where it says my something or other, right? My file cabinet, here, my lessons, my references, my papers, that's something that's going to require you to be logged into your own personal account. This may be different than how you access Academic Writer. So we typically recommend that you use your school email address to create that account, just because like if you're using this for school, it's easy to remember which account which email address you've used for that. Um, so I am going to go ahead and get started and talk about the first center that we're going to review in Academic Writer, the Learning Center. So you can get to this either through the tabs at the top, clicking on the title here, or jumping to a specific section in the Learning Center. So I'll select here and then go to Browse Lessons and Samples. And so I wanted to go to this first before showing you my specific lessons and samples. Because I am logged into my account, we can see the lessons that I have started and my progress in them. So I'm looking at all lessons. There are quick guides and tutorials as well as all sorts of samples. But we can kind of see what I have clicked into already with this progress, right? So I've gone through 38% of the abstracts and keywords quick guide. Um, if I haven't gone into a lesson yet, no progress is shown. Um, so the difference between the quick guides and tutorials is that the quick guides, like their name implies, are quick, right? They're shorter. They relate typically to a specific APA style guideline. So things like abbreviations. You can also see in citing sources, right? About quotations and paraphrasing. Um, and this is really apparent in the reference list about formatting specific types of references for your paper and going into the details on what information is required. So when you go into a quick guide or tutorial, it'll look like this, where we can select the Start Learning to access the content. We can see the table of contents over on the left, and I can jump around if, for example, maybe I've already gone through this and I just need to remember for this particular lesson, how am I supposed to format the title? Um, so you can see this as you progress through the lesson, your progress will be tracked. So I'm saying it's 11% complete. It gives me a check mark for each little section or chapter that I've completed in the lesson. And that is updated as I scroll through the content. Um, so the majority of quick guides are going to have one knowledge check in them. And so this is just a little self quiz to see how, just kind of check your own knowledge, right? It's knowledge check, but it is like a self check. So you're not going to be graded, and you'll get feedback on your responses here. So when I select the answers here, and they're going to tell me that that was correct. I can go to the next question when I select an answer. Um, I'm trying to get something wrong here so we can see the feedback. So it will tell you that you're incorrect and show you what the correct answer is. Um, So as you're going through that, again, completion of this knowledge check is required in order to get 100% completion of the lesson. And this kind of factors in a moment. We'll show you how you can kind of, I'm using air quotes that you can't see, how you can prove that you completed the lesson and the grade that you got. So you can't skip the questions and the knowledge check, like I said, because it is required to complete this in order to complete the lesson. Uh, so we saw the topics on the quick guides. If you're familiar with the publication manual, some of the terminology here is going to look familiar to you. However, when we move over to the tutorials, you can see that the topics here are on broader, more research and writing related topics. So whether that's, analyzing data or, copyright and permissions. One of the ones here that I think is really helpful is the finding reliable resources. And then we also, I know within the past few years or so, added a handful of lessons on writing. So, thinking about the academic writing process. So, for example, this lesson on pre-writing. Uh, in addition to, and so these look just like the quick guides. But are a little bit longer. So we can see that the table of contents, each section, that there's several knowledge checks. There's just more content in the tutorials because of the nature of the content. Um, In addition to those interactive lessons, we also have more static learning aids. So sample papers, being able to see what a completed paper looks like. Um, and being able to replicate that, whether it's using academic writer in order to help you format that, which Jan is going to show you in the writing and reference center, or if it's something that you're doing on your own outside of the platform. We can see what the paper is supposed to look like. One of the things that okay, this isn't going to show because it downloads in a different document and does not show in my browser, which is the only part of my screen that I'm sharing. But believe me when I say that there, you can download the sample papers and view those. One of the things that I really like about the samples is being able to see things like captions and titles and headings and all of that, and especially related to tables and figures and what that's supposed to look like. The hanging indent in your reference list is also something that for me as a visual learner, I find really helpful. So looking at things like that. Um, in addition to the sample papers, we have references. One of the things here that you can also do when you're viewing all of this content in the Learning Center is to view it instead of as a list in these different cards. And again, you can kind of, like, for visual learners like myself, you can see what the spacing, and again, this hanging indent is a phrase that APA style uses that I think resonates more when you can see what that looks like. So you can view all of those samples as well as tables and figures in the Learning Center. Um, you can also favorite things that you need to go back to frequently. So for example, I refer back to this lesson or to a particular reference type, like maybe I'm required to use for an assignment. I want to make sure that I know what that's supposed to look like, what the required details for that reference type are. Um, so this is accessible to you in Academic Writer. All of the things, with the exception of these favorites, are available to you without logging into your personal accounts. Um, However, I did mention, it was showing my progress and all of that. That is something that requires an account. So I'm now in the My Lessons area. So this is specific to me as a user. We can see all of the lessons that I have started here. So in what they're saying, all statuses. In progress, meaning I haven't completed the lesson. And so we were looking at that progress bar on the left-hand column, um, and seeing that, for these lessons, I haven't reached 100%. But for those that I have completed, I am able to view that list, make selections, and export a certificate of completion to prove to my instructor, whether it's for an assignment or extra credit or whatever, that I have completed the lesson that I took. So having completed the lesson means that I've taken both the self-check as well as the related quiz, which is for a grade. And we can see the quiz score here. So when I export to the certificate, I think I might have the same issue where, are y'all able to see this? This is in the
Yes.
in my browser. Okay, yeah. So certificate lesson completion, that I have completed these two lessons. These are the lessons that I've completed, my quiz score, and how many attempts it took me to get that score, and the date. So all of that information is available to you or your instructor with that. Um, so I'm going to see if I can close just this tab and go back. I see there's some stuff happening in the chat. Are there any questions about what we covered in the Learning Center? Any questions about knowledge checks or quizzes, completion, anything like that?
No, just wondering where is the best place to start to get a good overview of APA style. And I recommended the tutorial basics of APA style as a way to kind of get a quick overview of what's included. So it's not just formatting your paper, it's like a writing style and references. So this will give you a great overview of everything you would need to get started.
Yeah, absolutely. The basics of APA style tutorial is perfect for that. I'm just going to go through the table of contents here. So it talks about like the different paper elements. So, it's not just the body of your paper. It's not just like kind of like what we think of as like, I have to write a paper. It's all of these other things like thinking about your title page, the reference list. So this will also cover the format, how you can organize the content of the body of your paper, getting into some things like grammar, punctuation, capitalization, abbreviation, some of all of these things that you can remind yourself of the specifics of in the quick guide. But if you're brand new to APA style, I think the basics tutorial here presents all of that information in a fairly easy, like kind of like manageable and like not too scary way of just introducing you to a writing style and like why we do these things. It's not just to make your life harder, right? There are very specific reasons that we talk about groups of people in certain ways, to give that group of people the respect and dignity that they deserve. It is to, we cite sources so that, not just to acknowledge the work that inspired our own, and to provide, our instructor, your readers, a place to go for more information. And, so things like that. And so I think the basics lesson is really great for that. Uh, Anything else?
Um, that was it. We did have someone who wanted to know if their university had access, and I told her we would check on that
Okay.
just to confirm.
Okay. Is that in the chat? I can check while you're presenting.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
switch.
Okay.
Okay, everybody, I'm going to share my screen. I'm also not going to be on camera mainly because I don't want to distract from the content. Oh, I see what you mean about the bar. It's just right smack in the middle. Let's move this up a little. So I'm starting in the reference center. I know references are always a struggle. So with the reference center, what we're trying to do is help you build better references that are correct. So we have a reference manager where you've built a library of references, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And then we have a place for you to add references. So under adding references, we have a million forms, almost every form you could possibly think of to create a reference in APA style. We even have some references that include the new guidelines for generative AI. So when you click into it, if you're unsure about the guidelines, we link to the style manual experts and their blog just to kind of help out with that. Going back to adding references, one thing I wanted to highlight is that you will need to think about your reference as what it is, not where you're necessarily getting it from. So when I look at PsycNet, I did a search for Frida Kahlo because I did a degree in art history. I still love art. Here, what I'm looking at are several journal articles. I also have 13 books, a dissertation abstract. So always think about what your reference is, not necessarily where you get it, because you don't want to use this as a database. You want to use them as an article. One of the ones I was going to highlight here is this article, Frontiers in Human Neuroscience, the journal. It uses an article number. So when we go back to academic writer and we look into a journal article, which to be honest is the majority of what we're probably going to use for a paper. As you scroll down, we're guiding you through this process. So we're giving you the chance to put in any special case. Is this only an abstract that you're creating a reference for? Is this from the up-to-date database? We are giving you everything you can to customize your reference. And if you don't understand something, we have a lot of information tucked into the question marks. So please select those. They're full of really helpful information. So as I'm filling this out, I'm seeing that it's last name and then just the initial, and I save and format to my author list. And it's just giving me a quick reminder of a hyphen and how to format that, because it's another special case that you might not think about. So then I'm building an author list. If I had several authors, I could just keep adding them to it. I don't need to choose a special case. If this was anonymous, I could just have no author. The asterisk is going to indicate that this is required. You have to have this for a reference. So I'm just going to put in 2015 because this is my made up reference. This is my made up reference. And I did this slightly different because when you click on format in sentence case, so it's guiding you, it's telling you this is sentence case, it's also a button. So it's reminding you of your noun, and then it fixes it for you, except for my all caps. So be mindful of your caps lock. And then as you scroll down, is there any type of notation? Journal name is required also. So I could type in, this is my made up journal, and I can format that in title case as well. So fixed. First page is required. And if you have discontinuous pages, what does that mean? You can also click on the question mark. So this journal uses article numbers. We have more and more journals transitioning to online only. So I did want to highlight this because it can be overlooked. If it is an online only, you would need to use the article number. So in my search here, the article number is just located instead of the page number, which you would see right here. So in that case, I would just click on the button. And then the DOI is required. But if you don't have a DOI or you're wondering what is DOI, you can always check on the question mark. And then if you don't have it, I would always default to the URL. I always say if you have it, put it in there. More information can't be bad. And then we give you the chance to bring in the abstract if you want to include that. You can start saving some quotations if you know you want to refer back to it or use it in your paper. And then you can also start writing some notes. If it is like a downloaded PDF of the journal article that you're using and you saved it to Google Drive or Dropbox, you can always include a link here so that way you remember where to reference that article. Because I know I would never remember where I saved it. And then you can start organizing your references. So the tags are meant for you to easily look them up. So if you know it's going to be a specific paper or it's going to be a specific class or something subject, you can start adding tags that will let you retrieve that reference very easily. And then you would just click add to my references. Since it's made up, I'm not going to add it to my references. I'm going to switch over to importing. So if you don't want to sit there and build, like, I don't know how long your paper is, it could be 10 to 20 references, even more. You could always import them. Oh, thank you, academic writer, for trying to save my information. Yes, I do want to proceed. We try to help you not lose any content. So if you navigate before saving, Academic Writer will question you and make sure that's what you wanted to do. So we allow you to import references via an RIS file, and that's just a text-based file where we can pull the content into Academic Writer. We can't change the content, but we do try to flag missing elements to the content. So always review it when you pull it in. So what that would look like here is if I ticked a couple of these and I went to export, the first option is reference software RAS file, and I would just click go to download that. I did download one just to give you an idea of what it looks like. So it's really, it looks like gibberish, but we're pulling all the info into Academic Writer. So when I go back, I can select the file origin. That was PsycNet. If you're pulling it in from maybe an EBSCO host database, or we have ProQuest and Ovid, and then a few different reference managers. So if I select PsycNet and I choose file, I can quickly go to my desktop and my RAS files. And I believe based on the date, this is the one. Oh wait, was that the one? Well, it's the one now. I'm going to hit submit and it will import and I can immediately view my imported references. I think I picked the wrong one, but that's fine. So now I'm in my references. This is where I house my library of references in Academic Writer. From my import, it's showing me what I've imported. I do have a missing element. So when I click on edit reference, it will tell me exactly what's missing. I don't have a title. That's crazy. So I would look up the title and add that in and save my reference. If I do go back to my references, it's going to default to just the regular list of references, which is alphabetical A to Z. So I can alternate my sort, however, is useful to me to get to where I need to be. If you have imported content and you wanted to look at what you've just imported, you would use date updated newest, and that would filter it by the most recently added references or the most recently updated references. You can manage your reference tags here. And then you can also start viewing content without opening the reference. So if you wanted to look at what, or remind yourself what this reference was about, what am I reading? Where did it come from? Do I have any notes associated with this? And what paper has it been added to? And I can edit some of these from this screen again. Oh, this pops me right into it. I think the notes you can edit from this screen. So if I clicked on notes, I can start adding notes here and then just save. So I don't have to enter the reference. Does anybody have any questions? That's great. I hope that oh, I see a hand. Um, do you want to drop your question in the chat? I think I can allow you to talk. Here, allowed to talk. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was very interesting how you imported it, but I know this will happen to me that I will lose it. Like, where is it? Where do I find it? You know, that moment you went pretty fast over it
Oh, let me go
from
back and I'll
SciCnet.
show you how to
It would
get
be
back to it.
awesome because I know already this is gonna happen.
I feel the same way. Hold on. I will go back and go back
Thank
over
you.
that. So what you can do, you've imported your references. You would then sort it by date updated newest. So this is going to bring in the references that I've either edited or just imported. So 1, 2, 3, 4 are the articles that I imported just now in this session. And then I can review them. So most of the time when you spot check these, you want to look for, is it initial? Is it a full first name? Let's hope it's not a full first name. Um, do I have all of the content that I think I need here? This one is missing something. I would say it looks pretty good, but when I click into it, it's telling me I'm missing the article title. So then I would go down and type in the title after I look it up. Every time you navigate away from your list of references, the search will default back to author A to Z. So if you want to continue reviewing your recently added content, you can go back to date updated newest, and then you'll see your references again listed that were just imported. I hope that's helpful. I'm going to, now we have our library of references. Great. We can get started writing our paper. So you don't have to write your paper in Academic Writer. I think it's very helpful. You could export your references if you want. You could just export them from here and you'll have your references formatted. You can upload them to another reference software. You can use them for paper, but you can also write in Academic Writer. We're going to start a new paper and then I'm going to show you some of the features that we have for proofreading from a previous paper. So when I want to start a new paper, we have 9 different templates that you can use. You can choose the template. I would recommend choosing the template that best fits your assignment, whether it's like multi-experiment or if it's a literature review. We have a ton of the question mark help icons throughout the papers, and they are specific to each template. So if you do want to rely on that help, I would pick the template that best fits your assignment. I'm just going to demonstrate the basic paper. It immediately asks you if you want a student assignment or a professional manuscript. Some faculty want you just to write a professional manuscript. Why bother with the student assignment? Some are like, you know what, I just need a running head. You can add elements to the student assignment, but it's a little bit harder to take them off the professional manuscript. So I always choose student and then continue. You have to immediately title your paper so we know how to get you back to it. It doesn't have to be your final title. It could just be a working title. And then later on, you can go back and decide what your final title should be. We even link you to our tutorial on how to title your work. I can immediately add some references, but I can also just start writing. So I'm going to start writing. And then it drops me into our paper editor, which is pretty standard. You can expand the toolbar here. So we have the basic elements that you would need for writing a paper. I can bring this down. If I wanted to spread out a little bit, I can collapse. I'll have a little bit more space. I can always go into focus mode, which is even less distracting. This is just a way to get all of your ideas out, and then you can go back and start formatting it. But I wanted to start with creating our outline, like our heading levels to get us started. So you wouldn't use introduction as a heading level. We don't do that anymore, but maybe you're going to have a discussion section, maybe a method section. You might have a conclusion. You might also have maybe method 1 and method 2. So I've added in some headings. Now I'm going to format them. There's a couple of reasons why you want to format them. So I'm going to click here under headings, and I'm going to select the heading level that I want. And Academic Writer is just going to fix it for you. So discussion would be a heading level 1. Method would also be a heading level 1. Method 1 and method 2, I'm going to make a heading level 2. So I think those will fit right here. And then conclusion will also be my heading level 1. You can also add in a section over here on the left and just type in what it is. Maybe you have a conclusion 2, since I've already gone to the back of the paper. And then add that in, and that will default to a heading level 1. But you can always then just highlight it and change it to whatever you need it to be, which is great because I couldn't tell you what heading level is what. You can then start writing. So if I do a return, I can start writing. A lot of people ask us if you can import content from like a Word document. No, you cannot, but you can copy and paste. So I've pulled up some Latin text that I'm going to copy, and then I'm going to paste it. I'm going to use a keyboard shortcut. So when I do that, it immediately is like, whoa, hold on. Do you want to paste this? It might cause errors, which is the case for every like writing tool. Word, you can paste something in and you're like, why do I have bullets? I don't know. So we recommend pasting as plain text. You can paste with formatting and it might be fine. It probably will be fine, but it could lead to an error. We recommend pasting as plain text and then adding in your paragraphs. So you could just go in and format it. It's Latin, so I have no idea where it starts. I've added in my paragraphs. I think it was 5 paragraphs, so I might need an extra one. This is all in my discussion session because I had a lot to talk about in Latin. And now I have some content and I went in, I put in my paragraphs. I could start adding references, citations. So let's add some references to our paper. Below the paper editor, you will always have your paper reference list. Every time you add a reference to a paper, we are going to build your reference list at the end of the paper. So as you're thinking about what references to add, I would consider making sure you're going to use those references. I usually do a search for Rembrandt because I have a tag based on that. Actually, let me search my tag. So you can search like the reference itself, the notes associated with it, or the tags. So when I do a quick search for tags, it's bringing up all of my Rembrandt tags. If I click on the tag, it will sort by that tag. So now I have all of my references. I'm going to select all and add to paper. So now I can close and return to the body of my paper, or I can just click on body on the left side. So now when I scroll below, I have all of these references added to my paper. And when you look under preview, we have working title. Here's all my text. I have my reference list and it's formatted for you. So you don't have to worry about what the hanging indent is. It's there. When you export it, you may want to activate the DOI links. I know some professors really want those links to be active so they can check your sources. These will export into a Word document, but they won't be active. So if you know your professor is a stickler for that, just know that you might have to activate your links. So let's add in a citation. We'll do parenthetical. So I'm just going to pick a spot. It goes, parenthetical always goes at the end of the sentence. I gave myself a space. I'm going to go down and select my reference, and I'm going to click Cite. It's going to ask me what I want. Do I really remember what these mean? So you click on the question mark, and it's going to give you an example of each one. Is this narrative or parenthetical? We're doing parenthetical. So let's hit submit. And now I have my first citation. Perfect. Love it. So I could also do a narrative, and that looks a little bit different because the narrative citation is based off of the name of the author or groups of authors. I hit the wrong button. So if I give a space here, say I'm starting the sentence out, so-and-so said this. So I would scroll down, I would click on the reference that I'm going to use and click Cite and click narrative. So when I hit submit, Academic Writer is dropping in the last name of that person, which is what you should use. And then it's giving the date. So it's creating the narrative citation for you. So be mindful, you might already have the sentence crafted and you need to drop in the citation. So Academic Writer is going to drop it in with that last name. So you don't want to have two last names if you've already added that in. Just make sure you delete the additional last name if that's something that's already in there. So that was a lot of info from right here. I'm going to navigate away from my Latin text to an existing paper, and I am mindful of the time. I know that we're already at 3:47 according to my clock. There's just so much to show. The other thing Academic Writer is doing is formatting your title page for you. So we created a form and you fill it out, you save and continue to author, and then you build in your author list. So this is me. And then when I click on preview and I look at my title page, it's already done for me. So again, what we're doing is just taking that lift off of you. When I go back to edit, this is my author page. I'm going to go to body. You can comment on papers if you want someone to review your paper. You can add a collaborator. You can add a collaborator from this tab. And when you click add new user, if you have an email address for that person, you could put it in here and Academic Writer will send them an email. And then you'll have a reviewer, which can also be very helpful. You can also start proofreading yourself. So the grammar and spell check defaults to being on. So as I scroll down, you'll start seeing underlining. Yellow is usually a readability suggestion. So here it's telling me I have a passive verb that's frowned upon. Maybe reword that. Blue is usually like a technical error. I am so old that I leave 2 spaces after sentences, which I worked really hard to correct. So, but it's telling me, hey, just leave 1 space. So this is a great way to kind of go through and proofread your paper. We also have a series of check tools. The Check My Writing tool runs a quick analysis on your paper so you can kind of analyze what you're looking at. So in this, I have a couple of cliches. I can click on it and go to right where that is. Since I put it in quotes, that was intentional. I'm going to leave it. Repeated phrases, we'll check to see how many exactly that repeated phrases you have. So if you're using the same wording several times, it will check for that. But you can see here, I'm using the same reference several times, 4 times to be exact. And That's too many times. I need another reference. So you can use it to figure out if you're citing too much. Um, Sentence variety, I'm doing pretty good, but my transitions could use some work. So again, it lets you toggle through those transitions so you can come up with like some synonyms to kind of help elevate your writing. You can check your headings order to make sure you're progressing from heading level 1 to 2 to 3 without skipping one. You can't just jump to a heading level 5. You can check unbalanced headings. So heading level 1 is fine. If you have a heading level 2 under a heading level 1, you have to have at least 2. So any subheading is you have to have at least 2. And this will check to make sure that you've done that. So here I can go to my paper and it looks like I have a singular subheading. It's giving me the red flag, which is great. I need that visual. When I go back to check, I can also check my references for missing elements, like a double check. And then you can match your references to your citations just to make sure that you've used them all. So in addition to the cited, so you can see you've cited, I can then go and find my red flag. And that way I can just, I'm not going to use it. I'm taking it off. I didn't use it. Let's get rid of it. Oh, I didn't want to cite. Sorry. I wanted to get rid of it. So here, let's take both of them off and I'm going to remove. Academic Writer also lets you cite more than one reference at a time. So if you're citing a couple just as general knowledge for a specific topic, you can absolutely do that, and Academic Writer will help you format that. And then you can format it, like if you need to change the settings, we have a tab for that. And then export, you can email it, which will default to a Word document, or you can download it as a Word or a PDF, or you can just export your paper reference list. That's not everything that it can do, but those are the basics to get you started. Does anybody have any questions?
Nothing specific in the chat yet. A few people did ask if a recording of this webinar will be available. I provided the link to the YouTube that does have recorded webinars, but I didn't know if your follow-up, Jana, would include a recording for this specific.
Yeah, I haven't updated the intro to academic writer webinar in like a couple of terms. So I think it's time for an update. I was going to use this one just to get a new, fresh one out there. So I'll probably upload this tomorrow or Friday, and then it'll be available. I think Dawn put the YouTube link just in the chat, Sylvia. I'm not sure. Oh, it's just to hosts and panelists, Dawn. I'm so
Oh,
sorry. Yep, it happens to all of us, everybody.
that also means that the question about access to academic writer didn't get
Oh
to
no, we have your
that
answer,
user.
Sorelli. Don't worry.
Here, I'll just
Um,
paste my answer there. Okay.
yeah, we will definitely post. I think this is a good update for the YouTube channel. Um, but does anybody have any questions about anything technical? I know this is an intro. We've given you a ton of information. But the best way to do it is to jump in there and get started.
Yeah, I mean, I know this can be a lot, and especially if you're new or to academic writing in APA style, or if it's been a minute, this can seem like a lot. Like I said, the orientations at the on the academic writer homepage, the basics of APA style tutorial can be super helpful. But if you have any questions as you're using Academic Writer, you can always use the link at the bottom of the page, the site help, to answer any questions about anything specific, whether it's just like starting a paper or accessing lessons, or how do I do this quiz? And if your answer isn't here, then you can contact us, and we are happy to help you get started, or
Oh,
to do
contact
whatever it
right
is that you
here.
need to do in academic writer.
Yep. Oh, please feel free to fill out our very quick 3-question survey if you have time. We would really appreciate it. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. Um, I hope you have a good term. Good luck, everybody.